Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for keeping my plans when my boyfriend unexpectedly had to have his kid this weekend? So, backstory. My dad died on July 4th th. This year is the 10-year anniversary. For weeks now I have had a tubing trip, visit with my sister and a night spent with friends who are my family. I can explain more about that if needed. Up at a campground, literally 20 minutes from home. Planned for Saturday and Sunday. Monday and Tuesday I was going to spend at home with my boyfriend, let's call him T, and we were going to have a fire and enjoy the holiday and go visit my dad. I told T this. I explained my plans in detail many times over the last few weeks, and he said it was fine. Cue to this actual weekend. He unexpectedly has to keep his 10-year-old son, let's call him K, for the weekend. I went out last night as planned, and this morning T called and asked if I wanted to go to the beach with him and K. I said no, because I had plans to meet with my sister and nephew, and go up to the camp. Cue the freaking out. I got broken up with, told that I was an asshole for not spending time with him, and that I always run away when he has his kid. Told to not come home, and if I want to go out and be youthful, get the fuck out. I'm so confused and so heartbroken that, if all the weekends, he chooses this one, to do this to me. I'm trying to understand where he's coming from, but I'm really struggling. I had these plans made almost a month in advance, and he was totally fine with it, until it came to actually doing them. Please guys, am I the asshole here? Edit, forgot to mention. Yes, I'm keeping my plans and still going to see my sister and spend time at camp. Edit again to mention that we've been together 6 years to lol, and I take the kid often when I have days off and my boyfriend is working. He was upset since you had other commitments and couldn't play happy family right away with him and his child. You are better off without any guy who is so egotistical that they would break a 6-year relationship over anything like this, especially on the significant occasion of your father's dying. Comment by team member Corey. Now for the top comments. NTA and be glad this happened. You dodged a bullet. I'm sorry it is making you sad right now, and I know this is a tough weekend, but trust and believe that 5 years later you is going to look at this weekend as your personal Independence Day and be so relieved. Agreed. This is not a healthy reaction to a person keeping plans she has with her family, even before you factor in your father's death. NTA. Seriously. Get away from this man. If he broke up with you over this, don't try to get him back. This is the start of a long line of manipulation, guilt tripping, and just general controlling and isolating behavior. His lack of understanding for you is really concerning, and if he blows up that fast over something like this, I can't imagine how much worse he'll be in the future. He's not worth your time and energy. Go have fun with your family. 100. This can't be the only time he's done something similar. I'm sorry about your father passing. I know even 10 years later, that heartbreak can still be fresh. Which is BTW what your boyfriend should have said to you, not a complete stranger op. Am I the antagonist for not wanting my girlfriend to go on vacation with her friends? My girlfriend and I, both 22, have been together about a year. In that time, neither of us have gone on vacation with our friends, and we haven't really met each other's friends. We live together and have a dog that she already had before we got together. Her and her friends were planning on going on vacation, but decided that they weren't due to funds and not being able to find a time that would work for them all. I'm going back to my hometown to visit my parents next week, which we've known for months now. Our dog was going to stay with her at ours because my parents don't like dogs. A few days ago, she came home from her friend's house super excited about something and told me that her and her friends had spontaneously booked a vacation for next week. It was cheap and they all managed to get it off work somehow. I asked her if she'd forgot about my plans, and she said no and that I'll just have to bring the dog with me. I said no, she's not my dog and my parents won't want her to come, which started an argument. I ended up saying it was completely inconsiderate of her to book the vacation without asking me, and that if she had any sort of sense she'd cancel it. She told me she can't, do that without losing all the money, and that she shouldn't have to ask for permission to go on a trip with her friends. She left last night in a massive strop and went and stayed with her friend. My friends have said I'm an ass for the way I handled it, but I just don't think I am. Am I the antagonist? If my boyfriend didn't feel comfortable taking it on a trip he had been planned for some time, I would never try to pressure him into taking it so I could go on an impromptu holiday. It sounds like she was just waiting for you to give in and is now becoming upset because you didn't. Comment by team member Shannon. Now for the top comments. NTA. It's really inconsiderate not to tell your partner that you're booking a holiday before booking it. No, she doesn't need your permission, but not to even tell you beforehand, knowing you're away etc. That's plain rude, especially with it being such last minute. Secondly, the dog is hers, and she needs to take accountability for it. He can't take the dog with him, so she needs to step up and figure out what to do with it. If she can't, she'll have to cancel her holiday. She shouldn't have booked it unless she had worked out what she would do with the dog. She wouldn't have done this if he was her roommate. So why do this to a partner? NTA. It is as you've said, not your dog. Surely she should be responsible for boarding it or getting a dog sitter. When I read your title I thought it was a control/jealousy issue and was ready for a YTA. But the real problem is not that you don't want your girlfriend to go on vacation. You don't want your GF to ditch the responsibility she previously agreed on, which is caring for your dog. NTA. Her dog, but I totally agree. Am I the antagonist for refusing to take my biological sister's step-siblings on a vacation? So my half-sister and I have the same dad, different mums. She's 16. I'm 31. My sister's mum has remarried last year and her husband has 2 daughters. So they are her step-sisters, but not mine. I had planned something for me and my sister, a vacation only for us sisters. About 2 weeks before, her mum called me and asked if I'm willing to take her 2 stepsisters as well. They are 16 and 15. She said they haven't been on a vacation for a long time. They're really jealous and are giving her a hard time. She can't take them on a vacation because their finances are very tight, and it's really unfair to the other kids that my sister gets to go on a vacation right now. I said no, and my reasons were that I really don't know these kids. I can't be responsible for them. Also, money wise I couldn't really double my budget for 2 extra people. This was also something for me and my sister. Wasn't really planning on taking 3 kids on a vacation. This would completely change the experience. I didn't even take my husband because I wanted it to be just for me and my sister. Anyway, my sister and I had a great time and we are back. Her mum called me again and told me that the other kids are heartbroken by my actions. I've only met these kids 2 or 3 times. I don't know what was expected of me here. She said I was heartless and really mean, and I could have made it work for all of them. She said this would have also gone a long way for my sister to bond with her stepsisters, although I generally expected that would be her responsibility as their parent. But anyway, I'm so taken aback by her phone call that I'm questioning whether I've actually been the asshole in this situation. Am I the asshole for refusing to take all 3 of them? It's awful that your sister's mother was unable to pay for a trip for her stepdaughters. However, that does not imply that you must pay for them yourself. In blended households, situations like these frequently occur. In no way is it rude. Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. NTA. This is your vacation, not free babysitting. I can't believe she thinks you have an obligation to take her kids with you. Just, wow. I really like the back quote, my kids are picking on your sister. Reward them with a holiday. Apostrophe. What the literal fuck? Of course not the a-hole. Not your children. Not your problem. You did a wonderful thing for your half-sister, but you did not have any obligation to do it, and you certainly have no obligation to do it for someone you've barely met. That's basically like me going down to my random next block neighbor telling them they should be taking my children on vacation. Am I the antagonist for calling off my older daughter's engagement party and kicking her and her fiance out after he called my daughter attention seeking $? I'm a father of 2 girls, F23, Olivia, and F17. Joyce. To give some context, both girls don't get along that well. They both have different personalities. Different everything. Besides that, Joyce has multiple health conditions that cause her to faint from time to time. Olivia thinks that Joyce uses her conditions to keep attention on her, but I don't believe this for a second. Joyce can't make anything up, especially when she faints, whether it be at a birthday party or wedding or any other event. Anyways, Olivia's then boyfriend, M24, Kirk, proposed to her recently. Since he still lives with his parents and his parents aren't approving of the relationship, then I was asked by him and Olivia to host their engagement party. My wife agreed on my behalf and started getting everything ready for the party. Of course, extended family were invited. It was rather larger than I'd expected. The party kicked off and Olivia and Kirk kept sitting the entire time. Joyce was staying upstairs because she said she felt a little sick, so we let her. But my brother insisted that she come downstairs and celebrate her sister's happy occasion. Joyce got dressed and joined us. I noticed she wasn't feeling well. I asked her several times if she was okay, and she said yes. Then minutes later she suddenly fell after she got up from her seat. We all panicked, though she didn't faint, only reeled off balance for a few seconds. Olivia started mumbling something, but Kirk got up and said don't mind her. She's once again just being an attention-seeking $$ Ash. I was shocked. I asked him what he said, but Olivia got involved and said that he was right and Joyce was trying to steal attention from her that night. I got so mad I called the party off and told them both to get the $% out of my house. My wife and Olivia freaked out and begged that I'll let this go and they'd have Kirk apologize for this particular line, but I was having none of it and had them leave. Olivia was crying when they left. My brother jumped to defend her, saying I overreacted and Kirk was just mad and misspoke, but I told him listen, if they are going to disrespect my daughter in her own house, then we are going to have a problem. Everyone left and my wife didn't stop berating me for doing this and ruining our daughter's celebration and making her resent us. I need judgment to know if I overreacted and went too far here. Olivia writes, we all panicked, even though she didn't faint. Merely swayed off balance for a few seconds. What a humiliation for Joyce. And while Olivia's hatred is misdirected against her sister, I can easily understand how that might make her feel that way. You are a parent, hovering intensely escalating the circumstance. Comment by team member Shannon. Now for the top comments. NTA for ending the party. But my brother insisted that she come downstairs and celebrate her sister's happy occasion. The fuck? Joyce tried to stay away. You let her be pressured into coming down. You need to back her in advocating for herself and advocate for her in her absence. Also, think very hard about why Olivia and Kirk believe Joyce to be attention seeking. Have Olivia's achievements and events been sidelined by your concerns for Joyce's health? It's understandable that this situation has been stressful and difficult to manage. However, it is common for siblings of children with complex health needs to feel forgotten or ignored. Years of that will build resentment. I also have a fainting problem. It's called POTS. And the amount of times that family, not my parents though, has made me come to things or do stuff when I'm particularly ill is astonishing. And so many of them just dismiss it or straight up don't believe it, despite me having a diagnosis and symptoms I literally could not fake. So I'm not too surprised at this. It's so common, especially for teenage girls, to get dismissed or be called attention seeking for very real problems. And that same reason is why I didn't get diagnosed for 5 years despite ending up in the hospital multiple times. Info: why did you think it was okay for your brother to push your unwell child into coming downstairs when she wasn't feeling well? Am I the antagonist for refusing to return a bag that I bought with my money? I work at a thrift store 3 days a week. It's quite a big one, and a lot of people in my area come and shop there. Every product is labeled in accordance to a color-coded system, and the color changes every week. Furthermore, there is section in the store that sells the more expensive donations, mostly brands. These products are usually sold at a higher price. I'm a very low-level employee and my job is to place the products on the shelves and on the poles. Because of that, I see what is about to be sold in advance. However, I can't buy anything that is labeled with the color of the week. So, for example, if this week's color is red, I have to wait until the next week to buy anything with the labeled in red. Now, I usually work on weekends plus a random day of the week. 2 weeks ago, it fell on a Tuesday. That meant that we had just started a new color, yellow. As I was putting bags on a shelf, I realized that one of them was from a very expensive fashion brand. On first glance, you wouldn't be able to recognize it, but because I spent too much time on Pinterest, I immediately started panicking. This bag, that usually retails for a few thousands, in sale at a thrift store for $12.99. I was going to faint. Unfortunately for me, because it was labeled in yellow, I couldn't have it. Because it's not the first time this sort of thing happens. I calmed down, put the bag back in his place, and continued my job. As I was going on with my day, I kept going back at the same section, praying that no one had taken it. At the end of my shift, I saw that it was still there, and I decided that, if no one had bought it, I would. 4 days later, I come back to start my day and I see that the bag is still there, but it was now further back on the shelf, behind some other ones. I don't touch anything. I kept doing my job. Did the same on Sunday. Last Monday, I woke up and went there to shop. As soon as I entered the store, I went to the bag section and took the bag. Beeline to checkout and bought it. I was so excited. I guess some of my excitement was showing because my coworker asked me why I was smiling. Me and this coworker usually get on well, and I explained to her the situation. She smiled and told me she was happy for me. Last Saturday, while on my shift, my boss called me in his office to talk. He was with one of my managers and they went on to tell me that I had acted inappropriately by not notifying them of the price of the bag. They asked that I return it so that they would put it back on sale, this time at a much higher price. I told them no, because I followed the policy. They weren't happy, but they couldn't force me. Yesterday, when I got to work, my coworkers kept on making remarks and my managers had this unhappy look on their faces. I explained the story to my friend, and she said that, even if it's my bag, it's not fate, that I kept the information for myself. Keep your lips quiet moving forwards, because your coworkers and supervisors aren't your buddies. It might make some people dislike you less, but you waited and purchased it after the proper period of time. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. Is pricing things and determining what gets sold in which part of the shop your job, because it sounds like it's not. Their lack of knowledge isn't your job to correct, unless they're consulting you on pricing and paying you accordingly, not the a-hole. The pricing is determined by the people who put the tags. If they see something from a brand or something that looks new, then they send it to the more expensive section. My only job is to put things in the store, and I don't get to approach the pricing stations. NTA, but your decision to tell your coworker was not smart. Yeah, I was gonna say not the a-hole, but should keep that shit to yourself. Am I the antagonist for not tattooing my stepson's name on my arm with my kids' names? I'm 36 meters. My wife is 35F. I have 2 kids from my first marriage, 9 male and 7F. I have been married to my wife for 4 years. We have a 1F daughter. She has a 8 male son from her first marriage. The kids all live with us. My kid's mother has visitations 1 weekend a month. Her son's dad isn't involved at all. I have the names of my oldest 2 kids tattooed on my arm. I just recently added the name of my youngest daughter. My wife and I were talking about the tattoo, and she asked me if I'll tattoo my stepson's name in the same round as our daughter's. I told her I have no intention of tattooing his name. Sheb was shocked and asked me why. I said I only have the names of my children tattooed. She said I'm excluding her son, and he is part of this family too. I refused to tattoo his name, and proceeded to only tattoo my daughter's name. Wife called me all sorts of things. AITA, if you omit your stepson's name, all of your other children will be able to notice the separation between your children. There will only be conflict and resentment as a result of this. NTA, since it's your body. But seriously, I'd give this some more thought. For the first part of his life, you served as his father figure. Comment by team member Corey. Now for the top comments. INFO, it depends. If you've legally adopted him, then YTA. If you've acted as a father figure, you parent him. Refer to him as your son. And he calls you dad, then YTA. If you're firmly a step parent, he calls you by your name. And there are boundaries where only wife mostly parents him. Then he's part of the family, but not one of your kids. And thus NTA edit, not the a-hole, based on Op's answer below. But I think both should consider a long-term view for all kids, including adoption. Info, are you not the ATO's parent too? Like you're his stepdad. He lives in the family home. That is a permanent role in his life and your life. If your wife passed away, what happens to him? How does the child regard you? If your wife passed away, what happens to him? Or divorces him? In both cases, there's a good chance Op doesn't get to keep the kid, because step parents aren't a permanent role.